Hello, I'm Sergeant Major of the Army, Chandler.
And I'm Sergeant Major Anbiya.
We know that those of you viewing this are good soldiers. We know that if we tell you something, you're going to listen.
And we really want you to hear what we're telling you in this program, because we didn't take time out of our schedules and yours to talk to you about something unimportant.
The fact of the matter is that there's a serious threat to our Army and our soldiers,
To our operational readiness,
to your ability to carry out your duties.
and to everything this Army is about at its core, its values.
Your actions to deal with this problem are taken seriously by Army senior leaders.
Because morally, operationally, and pragmatically, the Army cannot afford for this problem to continue.
What if we told you that nearly 2 in 1,000 soldiers encounter this problem in theater, and nearly 3 out of 1,000 out of theater? Then what if we told you that an estimated 5 in 1,000 soldiers encounter this problem but never report it? Which means that 10 out of 1,000 soldiers will encounter this problem while serving in the United States Army.
And what is the problem? Sexual assault and the hostile living and work environment of sexual harassment that can serve as the foundation to facilitate it.
We have no doubt that sexual harassment and assault resonate with you as a serious matter. But maybe 10 sexual assault cases per 1,000 soldiers doesn't seem such a terribly high figure.
So let's look at it a different way. Let's say that your unit is deployed in theater. You began your deployment with 100 soldiers in your unit.
According to statistics, 1 out of that 100 will encounter a sexual assault. And who committed it? Most likely another soldier in your unit. Which means that now 2 of your 100 soldiers are no longer operationally ready.
Not only that, but you have to evac the victim to a medical base within 4 hours. And that victim should be accompanied by a victim's advocate. So now you're down 3 people.
You've lost 3% of your unit just to 1 sexual assault. And that's not counting other costs, such as the helicopter and pilot you had to pull away from other assignments to evac the victim and VA to a medical treatment facility. It doesn't count the time you had to spend working through a terrible occurrence, nor the time your commanding officers had to spend dealing with this issue.
And it's not counting the fact that CID will have to investigate the issue in the middle of the deployment. And it doesn't take into account the devastating trauma this type of event has upon the victim, a fellow soldier who was supposed to be able to trust fellow comrades in combat.
The reality is that when we add it all up, sexual assault cost the Army $400 million over 5 years. We consider those resources well spent.
But in a more perfect world, we would all prefer to see no need for that expenditure. And we would rather see those resources go to things like body armor and reinforced vehicles. Why is sexual assault so costly? Consider the loss of the investment the Army made to recruit and train the victim, a soldier who might not be able to continue with regular duties.
Consider the costs of treating the victim, of investigating the assault, of prosecuting the perpetrator. That perpetrator, or in some cases perpetrators, also represent an investment of Army time and resources.
Again, the Army first and foremost cares about the well-being of all its soldiers and wants them to receive the best care possible, regardless of the cost. But sexual assault hurts our soldiers, hurts our operational readiness, and it consumes manpower, time, and financial resources.
Now you may be thinking that shedding more light on this problem is exactly what you don't want to do. You may also be thinking that given all of the hassles involved in dealing with a sexual assault, it would be best if one were never to cross your desk.
But that's exactly the kind of thinking we can't afford anymore.
The Army knows that sexual assaults occur. As we said, close to 1% of soldiers will suffer a sexual assault of some kind. We know it's happening, and we know the costs. Therefore, the last thing we want is to see 0 reports from your command. On the contrary, in the short term, we're hoping to see an increase in reporting.
The more we can increase reporting, the more we can help those soldiers who suffer a sexual assault.
Not only that, visible reports tell the Army you are actively aware of this issue and are handling it in ways that advance the Army's overall mission and values. We want leaders who tackle these kinds of issues head-on, issues that undermine our operational readiness, our values, and the warrior ethos.
And we want leaders who recognize that an Army divided amongst itself is a less effective Army. Attention to the problem must begin with Army culture, with the environment in which soldiers exist on a day-to-day basis. An environment in which small indiscretions are tolerated is an environment that sends the signal that more serious offenses will be overlooked.
Differential treatment of soldiers of different gender by people in command, seemingly harmless jokes, comments about fellow soldiers' body parts, all of these create an environment where more serious harassment can take root and where the boundaries of appropriate behavior can too easily be crossed.
But the Army cannot and will not tolerate an environment where sexual harassment and assault exist. In terms of our Army values and our mission readiness, sexual harassment and assault undermine our collective integrity. Unfortunately, some of the most apparent consequences of sexual assault, such as its cost, aren't the most insidious. Sexual assault takes even deeper tolls on our Army.
Consider the ripple effects. One soldier in your command has assaulted another soldier in command, allegedly. Think about the impact on unit cohesion. Soldiers are going to take sides about who was right and who was wrong, about who might have heard what, said what, did what.
A soldier who has suffered a trauma at the hands of a fellow soldier might face being ostracized by other soldiers under your command for telling on a battle buddy. That victim might be best served by transfer, but it's the battle buddy who committed the assault who violated our values and our code of ethics, who attacked a fellow soldier, who violated an Army brother or sister.
Regardless of who was directly involved, the impact on unit cohesion is of greatest concern. If soldiers don't trust one another, if they don't feel as though they have one another's backs, then their effectiveness as a fighting force will diminish.
Not only that, but if they don't trust that the Army will safeguard those who have suffered a trauma and prosecute those who have acted immorally, then their faith in the Army as an institution will be undermined.
The soldiers in your command need to see that the Army has their back, and that it stands for something, and that sexual assault has no place here. They need to know that they can trust in you and trust in the Army. Failing to handle a sexual assault case properly puts that trust at risk.
A trust that suffers with even the smallest infraction of respect for one another as fellow soldiers. They need to know what this Army really stands for, and that we will stand together against anything that objectifies or disrespects a fellow soldier.
More than anything else, sexual assault undermines our Army values. It undermines our integrity as an institution if we don't uphold what we stand for and what's right.
It obviously undermines the integrity of those who commit the assault, and we need to affirm the integrity of those victims with the personal courage to come forward and report what has happened to them.
We have to display the kind of loyalty to the soldiers in our command that makes us worthy of their respect, and that models the kind of loyalty and respect that they should show for one another.
If we truly believe that we shouldn't leave a fallen soldier behind, then we must place the highest value of carrying assaulted soldiers to a place of security, trust, and treatment.
Putting it most simply, sexual assault violates everything the Army stands for. To review, an estimated 1% of all soldiers encounter some form of sexual assault.
The toll it takes on the specific soldiers involved has operational impacts the Army cannot afford.
Sexual assault consumes valuable time and resources.
It costs approximately $400 million over 5 years.
It leads to the removal of those soldiers involved from attending to their assigned duties and contributes to the breakdown of unit cohesion.
Worst of all, it violates the values we live by as soldiers, the values the Army stands for.
For these reasons, the Army wants to see all of its leaders take the proper steps to address the issue of sexual assault before it becomes a larger problem.
and it wants to see an increase in reporting so that soldiers who are affected by sexual assault get the attention they deserve.
Please give careful consideration to what follows, as it will help you understand how to address the problem when deploying to theater.
Thank you.